What's up, young world?
Right.
Here with Sean Thom, and please tell us about yourself.
So my name is Sean. I am an educator of 12 years, parent, work in the community. We started a nonprofit in Millville called Our Future First. Former congressional candidate, patented inventor, and do a lot of different things. And I'm just excited to sit down and answer some of your questions today. So thanks for having me.
Wow. So where are you from?
Born and raised in Millville, and live there now with my wife and my 2 kids.
So like you said, what do you do for a living again?
I'm actually going to start a new position. I'm going to be a teacher down at Southern State Correctional Facility, so I'm going to be working with some other inmates who are 18 to 21 to make sure they have their GEDs and get prepped for that, as well as inmates who are going to be working to get released soon and make sure they have everything that they need and they're prepared to be able to go back into the world and hopefully reduce the recurrency of going back in.
So you said you're like a community activist. Could you tell us about your backstory, like growing up in Millville and stuff?
So growing up as a kid, we didn't really come from a lot. Came from a family with 4 kids and 2 parents until they split up. But growing up, we noticed that we didn't have a lot. So we grew up on government assistance. We went through a lot of our issues, and it was made me want to recognize that I wanted to do more. I was the first person in my family to go to college, to get my master's. That wasn't something that I was told that growing up, you're going to go to college, you're going to do this. When I was growing up, I was hearing from my mom, you're going to go to jail, you're going to end up locked up, that you're going to be a drug addict, you're going to do this and that. And I heard that from a young age, 3rd, 4th grade, pretty much up until I can remember. So, for me, it was just all about doing what everybody said I kind of couldn't do. And now that I've been in education, I taught in Millville for a couple years. On May 18th, one of my former students that I taught in Millville, Maurice Lewis, was shot. He was in a car, somebody rolled a window down. Another individual was out hugging the block, thought it was about to be a drive-by, emptied a full clip into the car, and Reese caught a bullet in the back of his head and then passed away on the 20th. So after kind of reuniting with a lot of kids who I taught and and created bonds with, we decided we wanted to do more. We wanted to step up. We wanted to do more for our community. So we want to build a youth center in Millville because there's nothing like that. And our main goal is we want to call that Reese's House. We want to give kids the opportunity to come. We want to have a recording studio in there. We want to talk about, we want to have athletic facilities. We want to have this opportunity for them to kind of come out and have something to do, some support in the community. So we started a nonprofit called Our Future First, and we're really building that. It's an educational nonprofit. We do programs in schools, so we're really trying to build that up and try to get more established in our community so that we can make that difference and really create a Reese's House, because that is our ultimate goal.
So if we could go back, like you said, you had the choice to either do bad or to do good. What made you choose the right path to do good?
It's probably always my teachers, because no matter what I was doing as a kid, especially in high school, there was a point in 9th grade where I got suspended because I was going to school drunk, and my teachers, they never gave up on me. They never quit on me. I always remember I had a biology teacher in 9th grade who ended up being my AP bio teacher in 12th grade. And he always remembered what I did. I was drunk in his class, and he was the one who sent me down to the office to get tested and all that. Then I had him again in 12th grade, and ironically enough, he was one of the people who hired me when I went in for a teaching interview in Millville. But it was always my teachers. Whenever I do dumb stuff in school, especially when I got expelled in 11th grade, and they were the ones that, you need to stop being an idiot. What are you doing? You're too smart for this. And they were the ones who were pushing me when that push wasn't coming from home. And it wasn't coming internally from me. It was the teachers. And that's kind of why I got into education myself, because I was at this crossroads. I was going to go to law school, where I was going to be a teacher, and I really had to think about, what impact I was going to have in the world and what I was going to be able to be happy with growing up. Me able to look at myself in the mirror 20, 30 years and I'm like, you know what, I really made an impact. So that's actually what got me into teaching, and it kind of led me to where we are today.
After you build it and after the kids experience everything in it, what is your main goal for them?
My main goal for the kids is just to be able to support them unconditionally. We have kids who come in and they say, hey, I have an idea. I want them to be able to take that idea and not to say, no, you can't do that, which is what adults do all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be able to come in and say, I'm going here because I have an idea and I know they're going to support it.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to, and look, we all have ideas. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not. But if you were to come into Reese's house and say, I have this idea, we want to give you every bit of help you can. And if it doesn't succeed because and it doesn't pan out, then that's okay. That's a learning experience, right? But we don't want to tell people it won't work. We want them to be able to learn for themselves and be able to put that work in and that effort in. So I mean, it's that unconditional support from the start to finish, because that's what our youth, they don't have right now. They don't have that support. You're always being told what you can't do and never being told what you can do.
Okay, so what is Cumberland County to you?
To me, Cumberland County it's home. And it's an area with so much potential, but it's an area where, quite honestly, I mean, I've heard people, especially when I was at college up at Rutgers, people call Cumberland County the armpit of New Jersey. I mean, and because Cumberland County has the highest teen pregnancy rates, obesity rates, STD, STI rates, poverty rates, and Cumberland County, it's forgotten. And there's a lot that we need to do to be able to mobilize to really improve our county from a political perspective, from a community perspective, just from resources for our young people that aren't there because people haven't invested enough. So for me, Cumberland County is home. I mean, we can move out and move away from some of the things that are happening right now, but we're not, because this is home, this is where we are, and the work is Cumberland County. That is our focus. Like that's the calling right now. So this is home.
What made you, I know you told us the story about at school, so could you tell the younger risers?
If you're comfortable with it.
No, absolutely. That was the whole reason why I ran for Congress a couple years ago, right? So I was a teacher/administrator at a school in Camden, and we talked a lot. The kids always want to talk a lot about politics, especially leading up to the 2016 presidential election. And my school was 75% Latino, 25% Black. So the day after Trump won, we had to go in and talk about Veterans Day. And I remember pacing my kitchen until like 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure out what I was going to do as a white male walking into the school, knowing that no matter what this president did, it was never going to impact me the way it was going to impact my kids. So I had this whole thing planned, this whole Veterans Day thing, and I said, you know what, I scrapped it. There's nothing more American than talking about voting and talking about elections, because that's what our veterans have fought for, our freedom and our ability to choose our leaders. So on my way into school that morning, I decided that I wasn't going to say anything to the kids at all, that I was going to walk in, I was going to tell them, I was going to give them the floor, and I let them write whatever they were thinking and feeling on the whiteboards. I promised no matter what they wrote, they wouldn't get in trouble for it. I actually walked out of the classroom each time I did it so that I wouldn't know who wrote what, and then I came back into the room. And these are 8th grade kids. When I came back in the room, there was stuff, like Trump can't, F Trump, blah, blah, blah. So there's frustration, there's anger, there's resentment. I mean, it's normal, or human emotions. So, and I read everything out loud, and I didn't censor anything, I read it all out loud, but as I was going through, there was things I was like, why is this country so racist? Is my mother going to be deported? Am I going to be deported? How is this guy our president? And that was in 2016. I mean, we look at everything that's going on now, we're in an entirely different situation. I mean, now there's, documented evidence of that racism that we're talking about. So we started having this conversation. I just opened up the floor to the kids, and I just let them speak, and I just kind of sat back and listened. And one of the kids jokingly raised his hand and said, hey, Mr. Thom, you should really run for president. And I started laughing, and we all started laughing. I said, you guys know I'm too young for that. You have to be 35. I'm like, oh, no, but you should run for House, or you should run for Senate. And I was like, huh. And right then and there, kind of got those wheels moving in my head a little bit. And initially, we were going to challenge Senator Robert Menendez, and we had announced we were going to do that. But then after meeting with some people and talking with some advisors, we decided we were going to go after a Republican seat in our area, which is the 2nd congressional district in New Jersey. There's a 22-year Republican incumbent, Frank Lobiondo, and we decided we were going to challenge him. So Reese's mom made these. This says Love Like Reese, and then his middle name was Nigel, and number 13, that was his number, and then the orange one just is for gun violence awareness, and it says Never Forgotten, #LLR, which is Long Live Reese or Love Like Reese. Okay. So I wear these. I wear these every single day, and if I walk out of the house and they're not on, when I look down at my wrist and they're not on, I feel a certain type of way about myself for forgetting to put them on. But it's a constant reminder for me to, this is what we're working on. I mean, I taught Reese in 8th grade. I mean, I the memories I have from that and of him as a young man, like, are what pushing us, and knowing that there are a lot of people just like Reese who have these experiences and who have and families who've been impacted by things like this, and that's kind of my motivating factor to do what I do. And it's also a reminder when I'm spending my time with my kids and my family to really, focus in on that and to be present, because you never know when it could be the last time.
Now, what would you suggest us as a rising group of young people, what would you suggest us to do to help our community?
I think that's a tough question, because I can't suggest what you're passionate about, right? I mean, I think change happens when we work to accomplish something and achieve something that we're passionate about, that we see value in. And it could be something as small as getting in a club in school, like an LGBTQ club in school, something like that. Like that's but not every school has that, especially high school, right? They're not walk. Yep, exactly. So whether it's something like that where you are passionate about, getting something like that curriculum change and pushing for that is change, right? But when we're doing something that we're genuinely passionate about and excited for, that's when we push even harder. We get outside our comfort zone even more. So for me to sit here and say this is what you should do, I can't do that. But what I can tell you is that if is something you're excited about or passionate about, to surround yourself with people who aren't necessarily like-minded, but who are going to challenge your way of thinking every single step of the way, which it looks like is what you guys have and what you're building right now, right here, because that's what's going to make you better, and to recognize that you have as much power as you want to have, right? Because it's no matter, you can do a shoe drive, a back-to-school shoe drive. You could do this, you could do that. No matter how small it is, if you make an impact, you are making change. And change happens on huge scales, change happens on small scales. But whatever it is, as long as it's change and you're moving things forward, that is what really matters. Because too many young people don't understand the power that they have. Yep. That if you use your voice, and if you amplify your voice and your thoughts through social media and do this and bring people together for a common cause, the sky is, it's so cliche, but the sky is the limit. You could do literally whatever it is that you want. And I think I told you, the school that I was just fired from, there was no sex ed curriculum in the high school being taught. Yeah. Even though it's in the state educational standards. So I had a young lady come up to me, and they were talking about these innovation projects. She's like, Mr. Thom, I don't want any more abortions. I want abortions to go away. And I said, all right, well, let's look at that. What's the root? Why are we having abortion? Well, because kids are getting pregnant. Okay, so why are kids getting pregnant? Well, because they don't know. And why do kids not know? Because they're not being taught. I said, there you go. So what did she do? She went and got almost every single student in that school to sign a petition to have sex ed actually be taught in the school, and beyond just, the STD, STI stuff, like real stuff where kids can ask real questions and genuinely learn. And I'm hoping it's getting implemented this year. I'm not there, so I don't know. But the principal of the school promised her that it was going to happen, and but that's a victory, right? That's looking at something like, what are you passionate about? Framing, she didn't agree with abortions, but reframing the way that people look at things, and her reframing the way she looked at that issue, because in her family it was looked down upon. So really reframing it, what's the root cause of that, and then figuring out what you can do to create that level of change. I mean, that's the kind of power you have. And all that happened in the span of a month. I mean, which is nothing, but that happened because of what she did on social media, what she did in school, and the connections that she built, and she made that movement based off of that. I mean, and that's what you have the ability to do, but you have to get more people who are willing to get off the couch and to actually do something.
It's never too late to elevate.